Today on the CTV News at 5, Fort Macleod RCMP charge a 13-year-old boy with attempted murder and arson. Plus, a Fort Macleod teen who killed his mother isn't responding to rehabilitation treatment. And it's one of the first signs of spring. The annual Home and Garden Show kicks off.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. The family of a southern Alberta teenager say they are hoping and praying for his recovery 5 days after he was pulled from a burning house in Fort Macleod. The 17-year-old was found unconscious in his home after firefighters arrived to put out a blaze in the basement. And today, RCMP announced a major development in the case. As Terry Vogt reports, a 13-year-old boy who was living in the home has been charged with attempted murder and several counts of arson.
Firefighters were called to this home in Fort Macleod early Saturday morning. 4 people managed to escape unharmed, but one person, a 17-year-old man, was airlifted to Calgary by Stars with serious injuries. Now RCMP are saying those injuries are not related to the fire, but were caused by a violent attack in the home before the fire started. As a result of their investigation, another teenager has been charged with attempted murder, as well as 4 counts of arson with disregard for life.
As far as the exact medical issues facing this young man, I'm not actually at liberty to speak specifically to them. I think the fact that we have laid an attempted murder charge does speak to the fact that there was significant injury suffered by this young man.
RCMP aren't commenting on the relationship between the 2 teenagers, but people who know the family tell me the boy who's charged is 13 years old and was living at the house. Investigators say the assault was not gang or drug related, and they believe it was not a random act.
And the rationale behind attempted murder is that there is some pre-planning or planning that has occurred in order to kill an individual. And we, through our investigation, have gained evidence of this planning.
The 17-year-old sustained life-threatening injuries to his head and neck and is in intensive care in Calgary. Family members say he's still unconscious, but doctors are hopeful. The teen's parents are currently staying in Calgary so they can be close to their son. They're asking people to pray for his full recovery. Terry Vogt, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Family members say the 17-year-old youth who was injured in the assault was a grade 12 student in Fort Macleod who was looking forward to graduating this spring. The 13-year-old boy who was charged in the case made a brief court appearance today by closed-circuit television, and he'll return to court on March 21st. Meanwhile, a Fort Macleod teenager who killed his own mother back in May of 2009 isn't responding to rehabilitation programs. The boy who can't be named was handed the maximum youth sentence for the murder, 4 years in custody and 3 years of supervision. Although his sentence can't be adjusted, the treatment he's receiving can be. Kayla Carr has more from today's progress review.
He's defying the order, and he's not going anywhere if he doesn't cooperate.
It's not the news family of a young man we're hoping for. The teen accused of killing his mother in May 2009 isn't responding to treatment. He was 17 when he killed his mother, striking her in the back of the head with an axe and repeatedly stabbing her with a knife. The teen was handed the maximum youth sentence, which includes an intensive rehabilitation and custody order. Due to his lack of progress, he'll now undergo a psychiatric test to determine his risk of reoffending and his risk to the community.
I think, the very concerns that his lawyer, the Crown prosecutor, the judge, we all feel the same way. If he's not responding, then what? However, I think with this psychiatric test that they promised to have the results of in September, I think that's going to give them some answers.
The teen is no longer being treated at the Alberta Hospital. Once he stopped cooperating with his doctors, they decided to send him back to the Calgary Young Offender Centre.
Well, it's not the best fit, but maybe that temporary unlinking was what the doctors wanted. Well, there weren't any violent incidents. It was just maybe a bit of an attitude, condescending. Maybe he wanted some more items. They're sharing programs and things like that, but he certainly wasn't being violent.
The victim's former sister-in-law says the family is pleased he's staying in the rehabilitation program and hopeful he'll use the opportunity to reassess his goals, show remorse for what he did, and realize he can have a better life. If not, they're hopeful he'll stay locked up.
There are other ways to warrant incarceration. This may warrant, this is from this angle, but once his criminal sentence is over, if they still deem him high risk, my hope is that the health system would step forward and say, we have a young man who is high risk and cannot be released into the community.
The case will return to court in September for an extensive sentencing review, including the results of his psychiatric test. Well, the family says it's difficult to have to relive the tragedy every 6 months. They want justice for the boy's mom and to be able to find forgiveness.
There are days where you think you've forgiven and all is well, and then there are days where, can I ever forgive? So we're not there yet. We're just not there yet.
Kayla Carr, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Dory Rossiter is here for our first look at the forecast. Temperatures up to 16 tomorrow, Dory, but then there could be rain and snow on the weekend.
Yeah, I know. It's March. What can I say? Everything happens in March. Everything's happening this week. We had a little bit of a mini blizzard last night that blew through. Some parts of the city didn't even see it. And then today, a nice recovery. But you're right. For the weekend, things are a-changing. I'll tell you all about it in a couple of minutes.
All right. Thanks, Dory. Well, Gary Mar is anxiously awaiting the chance to clear his name after allegations of ethics violations. But a new twist means it may be a while before he returns to his post as Alberta's envoy to Asia. Mar insists that a fundraiser that's now being questioned was proper and held with the best of intentions.
And nobody had any intention of breaching any kind of standard of ethical conduct.
But is it appropriate to use your government status to raise money for a debt that was outside of government?
It's no different than the next political fundraiser that you go to. I mean, does a minister of the Crown say, this is a fundraiser for me personally, or do they say, this is for Minister X, Y, or Z? I mean, it's something that has been the case for the longest time.
This morning, the Ethics Commissioner confirmed he cannot investigate Mar's actions. Neil Wilkinson says the Conflict of Interest Act doesn't apply to senior officials. They fall under a code of conduct, and that's overseen by the Executive Council. Today, it is going to appoint an independent investigator to determine if Mar breached the code of conduct. Meanwhile, the PC grip on Alberta voters appears to be slipping as the province inches closer to an election. A new poll shows the Wild Rose Party is making big gains, nipping away at Premier Redford's hope for another massive majority. The Sun News Abacus data poll shows the PCs with 34% support, Wild Rose 29%. That's a big gain for Danielle Smith and the Wild Rose from February, when pollsters had the Conservatives with a 14-point lead. The Premier has been dogged by controversy in recent weeks. Doctors complaining the province isn't listening to their concerns and the MLA committee pay scandal. Political pundits say it's no surprise the PCs are in some trouble.
We even had a guess that that might be the case, looking at some of the ads that came out recently. We knew that the internal polling had to show that the Conservatives were a bit concerned about the Wild Rose campaign.
Now, the poll also shows the Liberals at 18% support and NDP at 14%. The chair of the Oldman River Health Advisory Council says despite some concerns, healthcare in the south part of the province is in good shape. The council is made up of as many as 15 volunteer members and designed to provide advice to the Alberta Health Services Board. The group also gives updates on concerns of local residents about health care. Chair Barbara Lacey says a major concern remains doctor retention in Milk River. The area's doctor has been unable to retire because it's been hard to attract new doctors to the area. All in all, Lacey says the south is in much better shape than some other parts of the province.
I think we're very fortunate in the south. We really don't have as many problems as they do in other parts of the province. Our emergency wait times are less than most people. In fact, they're one of the lowest in the province. And I think we need to make people aware of things like that too.
The Oldman River Health Advisory Council meets every 2 months. Well, with spring just around the corner, finally, It's that time of year for the Home and Garden Show. The popular annual event is underway at Lethbridge Exhibition Park. Over 350 exhibitors are in hand this year. You can check out demonstrations on decorating, landscaping, even cooking. Many of those involved are hoping the recent warm weather will get people thinking about their gardens, their yards, and, of course, home improvement projects.
The weather looks like it's good. I don't know how many people are actually out in the yards doing work right now, but they got some great ideas if they want to come here. And people do come here with the idea of getting quotes.
This is huge. It's one of the biggest sales of the year for us. This week is what really starts the year for us. It's huge. It gets thousands and thousands of people walk by to see a product, and we have time to talk to them and show them the new product coming out this year.
The Home and Garden Show continues until Saturday. Admission, $5. And for the first time in its 244-year history, the Encyclopedia Britannica will not be available in print. The current American owners of the famous catalog say it's only going to be published digitally. Encyclopedia Britannica's president says the shift has been a long time coming. Sales reached a record low back in 1990, moving 120,000 sets. But demand, well, it's been on a decline ever since. The company says it's also going to focus more on expanding its educational products. And the dollar took a bit of a nosedive today in the markets. Here are the closing numbers.